In the middle of the town's bustling square, a small crowd had gathered. It was a sunny afternoon, and the air was filled with the soft murmur of voices, footsteps, and distant laughter from nearby shops. Today wasn't just any day, it was the day of the community's open-air prayer meeting, held under the clear blue sky. Families, friends, and strangers came together to share a moment of faith and hope. Near the edge of the square, a couple sat quietly on a simple wooden bench. Their hands were gently clasped together, fingers intertwined. Neither said a word, but their heads bowed low, eyes closed, and lips moved softly in prayer. There was something calm and sincere about them, a peacefulness that seemed to glow in the busy surroundings. To anyone watching, it was clear they were deeply connected to each other and to something bigger than the noise around them. Not far away, a man walked by. He didn't belong to the group. His eyes caught the couple praying, and a laugh escaped his lips, a loud, sharp laugh that cut through the quiet like a knife. His mocking gaze and the cruel smile on his face spoke volumes. He didn't understand their faith. He saw only what he wanted to see, something strange, even foolish, in their public display. The crowd noticed, tension rising like a wave between the man's laughter and the couple's quiet devotion. But little did anyone know, this moment, this clash of ridicule and faith, was about to change everything. The man's laughter echoed sharply across the square, loud and cutting through the peaceful hum of the gathering. It wasn't a gentle chuckle or a soft smile, no, it was harsh and mocking, like someone who found the world's pain amusing. His mouth stretched wide as he laughed openly, pointing at the couple as if they were a joke meant only for his entertainment. Some people in the crowd glanced over, eyebrows furrowed, but no one spoke up. The laughter felt uncomfortable, like an unwelcome sound breaking a fragile calm. Despite the noise, the couple did not flinch. Their hands remained tightly clasped, and their heads stayed bowed. Their lips moved in quiet prayer, soft and steady, like a gentle river flowing through a storm. Their eyes stayed closed, focused on something unseen, untouched by the man's scorn. There was no anger in their silence, only a peaceful strength that seemed to push back against the man's cruelty. The man stood a few feet away, shoulders squared and chest puffed up, his confidence almost arrogant. He looked around, daring anyone to challenge him, but the crowd remained still. His laugh grew louder, as if trying to drown out any doubt or discomfort. Yet beneath that bravado, something deeper hid in his eyes, something fragile and afraid. It was a quick flicker, almost invisible, but it was there. Why was he laughing so hard? What had made him so certain that this quiet moment was ridiculous? The laughter felt less like amusement, and more like a mask. Behind it the man was hiding something, pain, maybe, or fear, something that no one else could see yet. The crowd watched silently, unsure whether to feel anger, sympathy, or something more complicated. And the couple kept praying, unaware that this strange moment was just the beginning of a story no one would forget. The couple's prayer wasn't just a quiet moment between them, it was a reflection of their whole lives. People in the community knew them well. For years they had been the kind of people who showed up when no one else did, volunteering at shelters, organizing food drives, standing up for those whose voices were too small to be heard. Their faith was not hidden away in church walls, it was alive in their actions every single day. Today, as they prayed in the open square, their words carried the weight of hope and healing. They asked quietly for peace in a world that felt divided. They prayed for unity, for neighbors to see one another as brothers and sisters instead of strangers or enemies. They begged for justice, for kindness to replace cruelty, and for the broken parts of their community to be made whole again. There was something about their prayer that filled the space around them, a feeling that was almost tangible. The soft murmur of their voices, the steady rhythm of their breathing, and the way their hands held tight to each other, together it created a quiet strength that touched those nearby. Slowly the crowd began to notice, eyes that had been watching the man with suspicion now softened as they turned toward the couple. Some faces showed surprise, others warmth. A few people even wiped tears away discreetly, but there was more beneath the surface of this couple's quiet faith, something deeper, something the crowd couldn't see yet. Their story was one of courage and struggle, of wounds healed in secret and battles fought quietly behind closed doors. The prayer was more than words, it was a shield, a beacon and a promise. The man who had been laughing just moments ago stopped. He watched them closely now, his expression changing. The laughter was gone, replaced by something like confusion. What was it about this prayer that unsettled him so? The answer was hidden for now, but soon everyone would understand why this couple's faith was impossible to ignore. Just as the couple finished their prayer, a voice broke through the quiet of the square. The event organizer, a kind-faced woman with a microphone, stepped forward and called out, "Would the couple praying near the bench please come to the stage? We'd like to hear from you." The crowd stirred with curiosity, whispers rippled through the group. The man who had been laughing suddenly froze, his smile fading into a tight line. He glanced nervously toward the couple, then away, as if unsure what was happening. His confidence, once so loud and bold, now seemed to waver. Without hesitation, the couple rose from the bench, still calm and humble. Their hands unclasped but remained close, and they walked together toward the stage with steady steps. The crowd parted to let them pass, eyes fixed on their quiet grace. The man's laughter had completely stopped. Instead, a heavy silence fell over the square, thick with expectation and unease. Everyone waited, breath held, as the couple took their place in front of the microphone. Then, with voices clear but gentle, they began to speak, not just about their faith, but about the real struggles they had faced. They spoke of hardship, of times when their community turned away from them, when injustice left deep scars. They shared personal pain they had carried in silence, loss, fear, and the long road to forgiveness. Their words were raw and honest, echoing in the quiet air. They told the story of how they had found strength not only in prayer, but in standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. The couple spoke of hope, healing, and the power of love to change even the darkest places. As the story unfolded, the man's face changed before everyone's eyes. His confident, mocking expression faded, replaced by something pale and unsettled. His eyes widened, lips pressed tight. It was clear the words had struck a deep chord, something he hadn't expected and couldn't ignore. The square held its breath, waiting for what would come next. The couple's voices grew steady as they shared a truth that few in the crowd expected. They told the story of their past, a past that quietly connected them to the man who had laughed just moments before. "We once lived in this very neighborhood," the woman said softly, her eyes sweeping the crowd before resting on the man. "A place where doors were often closed to us, where judgment and fear ruled more than kindness." The man's eyes flickered, his face paling even more. Whispers spread through the crowd, a mixture of surprise and growing tension. The man who had mocked their prayer was not a stranger to their story. In fact, he had been part of it. Years ago, before the couple had become known for their kindness and strength, they had been victims of the same prejudice and cruelty that the man's laughter now echoed. They spoke of nights when their family was turned away from stores, denied services, or treated as less than human. They talked about the pain of being ignored by neighbors, the heavy weight of discrimination that seemed impossible to escape. "And you," the man's name was said quietly by the woman, "were once one of those who laughed at us behind closed doors, who turned away when we needed help." The man's hands trembled, his confident mask breaking. The crowd held their breath, watching as he struggled to face a truth he had long buried. For the first time, the man was forced to confront his past, not just the jokes and the laughter, but the real harm he had caused, whether by words or silence. Guilt pressed down on him like a stone, heavy and unyielding. Around him the crowd shifted, some faces showed shock, others empathy, a few wiped away tears. The silence that fell was thick, full of unspoken understanding. The couple's words carried the weight of years of pain, but also the strength of forgiveness. They weren't angry, they were inviting the man, and everyone watching, to see beyond the surface, to recognize the hidden wounds that shape people's lives. In that moment, the public square became more than a place of gathering. It became a space for reckoning and healing, where past mistakes met the possibility of change. The man's pale face told a story of a heart opening, slowly and painfully, to the truth he could no longer ignore. The crowd watched, moved and silent, as a moment that began with mockery, turned into one of the deepest honesty anyone had seen. The man took a hesitant step forward, his shoulders slumped, and eyes cast downward. The loud laughter was gone, replaced by a quiet heaviness that settled over him like a shadow. His face was no longer filled with mockery, but with shame and regret, a man finally seeing the weight of his own actions. His voice came soft and unsteady at first. "I'm sorry," he said barely above a whisper. Then, finding courage in the stillness around him, he spoke louder. "I never thought about what you've been through. I was wrong to laugh. Please forgive me." The couple looked at him with gentle eyes, their calm unwavering. The woman smiled softly, reaching out a hand, not to accuse but to offer peace. "We forgive you," she said. "It's not too late to change. We all carry our own burdens, and sometimes it takes time to see what really matters." The man nodded, relief and sorrow mixing in his expression. Around them the crowd seemed to breathe in a new way, as if a heavy weight had been lifted. Where there had been judgment, there was now hope. Faces softened, and some people whispered words of encouragement. The moment held a quiet power, the kind that can only come from humility and forgiveness. It reminded everyone present that behind every act of ridicule or fear, there is a story waiting to be heard. And behind every story, there is a chance for understanding and healing. This wasn't just a moment for the man or the couple, it was a moment for the entire community. A moment that showed how faith and kindness can break through walls built by fear and prejudice. As the man and the couple stood together on the stage, the crowd joined hands and bowed their heads in a shared prayer. In that moment, everyone was changed, by the courage to face the past, the grace to forgive, and the hope for a better tomorrow. The public square had changed. What was once filled with the sharp sound of mocking laughter was now quiet, wrapped in a gentle stillness that felt like respect. The man who had laughed so loudly before no longer wore a smirk, or carried an air of arrogance. Instead he stood quietly, listening and learning, his eyes open in a way they hadn't been before. The couple returned to their bench, hands joined once more, their prayer continuing softly. But this time others in the crowd began to bow their heads and join in. Slowly the circle grew, including the man who had mocked them moments earlier. Together their voices rose in a shared hope for healing, unity and peace. In this moment, it was clear how faith and human connection can break down walls built by fear, judgment and misunderstanding. The power to change hearts lies not in anger or mockery, but in courage, forgiveness, and the willingness to see each other's hidden stories. What if every person who judged another carried a story no one knew? What if every laugh hiding pain could be replaced by kindness? As the prayers echoed softly across the square, the question remained: how often do we choose to listen instead of judge? How often do we open our hearts to the stories waiting quietly beside us? And maybe, just maybe, that choice can change everything.